We rely on government to tackle the most complex challenges of the day, protecting the vulnerable, the environment, and public health. But there are profound challenges in whether the government can actually access the kinds of cutting-edge advances that are being made in data science and artificial intelligence on a campus like Stanford University. What are some of these challenges? Outdated information systems. A 2016 report by the Government Accountability Office documented that some 80% of an agency's IT budget is dedicated to outdated systems of the like by the Department of Defense that uses 8-inch floppy disks in a legacy system that coordinates the operational functions of the US nuclear forces. Human capital. When New Jersey was facing the pandemic, the New Jersey governor came out there and said he wanted two kinds of people: healthcare workers and COBOL programmers. And the proportion of you who laughed at that joke, we can tell what generation of software engineering you learned. Third, scale. Tony Blair said most of the problems of government come from people being overwhelmed by the size and scale of what they have to do. And here's the file room, just as of a few years ago, of a major agency that handles veterans' claims. And let me take you back to where we can look for a solution. After World War II, government was facing a similar kind of crisis of scale and innovation, with millions of veterans coming back from abroad, over 10 million, many requiring sustained medical care. And one of the lesser-known legal frameworks that was laid at that point of time was a policy memorandum that set the legal framework for public academic innovation, leading to innovations like the pacemaker, the CAT scan. 84% of medical schools have this kind of professional association with the VA. 70% of VA physicians hold university appointments. And the question that we've been consumed with at the Regulation, Evaluation, and Governance Lab, or the RegLab that I direct, is why not for government? When the external perception can be that there is a gulf between the kinds of rapid advances being made on a campus like Stanford University and government agencies. So what we've been engaged in has been to build a series of bridges and partner with government agencies to drive forward R&D. And let me give you 3 examples of what R&D for public policy and government could really achieve. Example number 1 comes from disability adjudication, where the system that the Supreme Court has described as the largest form of agency adjudication in the Western Hemisphere handles about 500,000 cases a year, more cases than all of the federal courts combined. And it takes years for people to get resolution on these kinds of appeals, and some people have coined it a form of disability roulette because of the complexity of decision-making that is involved. And there's a guy who was the head of the Appeals Council by the name of Gerald Ray, who was being blocked by government HR rules that only allowed him to hire lawyers. And so what did he do? He started to find lawyers who also happened to have software engineering and computer science backgrounds, and had them start doing really simple forms of analysis to help cluster cases and help judges decide cases like cases at the same time. And ultimately, what that kind of investment led to is an AI-based error detection system that allows any one of these 1,600 judges to upload a draft decision and get error signals just like this as to potential areas of law that you've cited incorrectly, things that you may need to re-examine, hence potentially improving the accuracy and consistency and speed of these kinds of decisions. And that's the kind of work we're engaged in now with other government agencies to try to drive forward that kind of change. Second example, Mark had mentioned the serious need for us to think about environmental sustainability. The main source of water pollution in the United States is agriculture. And in particular, one of the worries has been these intensive livestock farms that raise thousands, if not tens of thousands of heads of animals. One large hog CAFO can produce as much manure as the city of Philadelphia. And unlike human wastewater, that waste is not required to be treated. And the basic problem, as the Government Accountability Office has pointed out, is that no federal agency collects accurate and consistent data on the number, size, and location of CAFOs. And so we took the kind of deep learning revolution that's been happening across campus and elsewhere, which historically has been applied to the internet's most important problem, determining whether it's a dog or a cat, and tried to redirect it towards something that solved this really important environmental problem, teaching a computer based on work that had been done by an environmental interest group that took 3 to 4 years, where humans were manually identifying these facilities off satellite imagery and training a computer to do that, from taking a process that would take 3.5 years down to 2 to 3 days. And that is the promise of this kind of technology for the future of environmental enforcement. We now have the capacity to scan the Earth's land surface once a day, meaning we can update really a regulatory system that was built out in the 1970s to really use modern forms of environmental monitoring and enforcement. Third example comes from COVID response. And in Santa Clara County, as many of you know, there have been dramatic health disparities in terms of the case incidence. Roughly 25% of the county population identifies as Latinx, whereas at the time that our lab started working together with Santa Clara County's public health department, over 50% of cases were of Latinx individuals. And the county responded, and remember the county was, along with 5 other Bay Area counties, the first to issue a shelter-in-place order, by building one of the largest contact tracing efforts in the nation. They went from about 0 to 1,000 contact tracers within a matter of weeks. In the name of one of the assistant health officers, they were building the plane as it was taking off and building this new bureaucracy to reach out to patients, to help them isolate and quarantine and provide guidance and access to resources. But a basic problem was that because the data infrastructure was so poor, there was no way to take those contact tracers that spoke other languages other than English and match them with incoming cases. And so what our team did is we worked together with the county to take the sparse lab report information and merge it with other administrative data sets and create a language matching system to be able to match the predicted language of incoming cases with the language skill sets of contact tracers. And what we showed in a randomized controlled trial where we rolled this out is that that reduced the time to complete a case by about 14 hours, which is incredibly meaningful when you're trying to get in touch with people as soon as possible to help them with isolation and quarantine. And it increased the propensity by individuals to interview. And that's what I'm excited about in terms of this vision for an engaged, impact-oriented Stanford of the future. At the RegLab, we bring together students and faculty across disciplines from law, earth science, social science, data science, engineering to solve these kinds of problems because they cannot be solved within disciplinary silos alone. Thank you.